Okay, apologize for my ramblings being interrupted. I will continue explaining in a minute, but first I'm going to harvest something rather precious. Now, we got a oval chainring that used to be on my wife's bicycle. And my wife just recently had an accident caused to the chain coming off. So I have replaced the crank with a crank where I can put a narrow wide front chainring that is round on it. So that should make matters much better in two respects. Let me double check whether you are recording. Close. Yes, we are. Apologize, this is due to my vintage telephone. Okay, so here we go. This is what came off. Oval bio-paste sort of chainring. At the time when I built this bike, that's all I had. I had this crank and the only tooth wheel that was the right kind of size was that one. So, but obviously this causes issues, and she came off the bike and that's no good. So I replaced it. Had to do this off camera because the phone was off charge. So this is what came off. All right. And this is obviously a normal width tooth wheel, and I have the longest possible bolts, and I can use a spacer. This is to improve chain line, and that's exactly what I need on my single speed build. So I'm going to harvest these bolts and the spacers. So that's what I'm doing now. Damn it, why does this keep doing this? Cancel. Just please record. You silly phone. Apologize. That was my fault. Apple, are you hearing me? Sponsor me. Send me a new iPhone. Please. I appreciate. I used iPhones ever since they became available. I even spent days in a waiting line in Shanghai sometime around 2012. I think that was 2013. I queued up, I got my prized possessions, ever had iPhone since. I must have about 50,000 photographs on the cloud, so unless that would be all be lost. Yep. I prefer to continue to use Apple just because there's no other laptop that I will ever use. I came away from I can't remember the brand. It was a Chinese brand. It was a joke. I swore that I would never have another Chinese thing ever again. And then again, what do we know where it's made now? It's made in China, it's made in India, it's made in Vietnam. Whatever you want. But in my experience, it's not the culture and the place, sorry, the culture, yes. It's not so much the location where it's made, it's the management that teaches the people of what to do. I remember vividly when I got a new Volkswagen Passat, which was, let me think, even on the picture. Damn this. Low power mode. I'm plugged in. Charge. Stupid phone. It's recording. I should be in the picture. Now even more so. I'm just cleaning this part away. So let me focus. Yeah, I'm rambling. Volkswagen Passat. Let's say it was 2012. I received a brand new Passat, which was a brand new model. It was the same as the Passat that was sold and built in the United States, but it was built in China. It was either done by the cooperation with SAIC or with FAW. This I don't remember. It was the American version of the Passat, slightly bigger, so Audi A6 platform. And man, was that a good quality build. This was better than the one that was built in America, for absolute sure. So it's about taking the time, going to a place, setting up, going through the loops, teaching quality, and obviously Volkswagen went there in the 80s, so they had plenty of time. So it's not, oh, it's made in China, it's crap. Nope, that's not the case. It's the management of the company, it's the self-understanding of how you deal with your clients, it's the responsibility that you take for your product. That is what makes the difference. So it doesn't matter where it's made, it's done by the management culture. So yeah, where was I? What did I come from? Where did I come from? I don't remember. Anyway, so now we got bolts. I'll give them a little dicht, as the Scottish people would say. And then upwards and onwards. Let's get things out of the way. So this BCD here is strange. Shimano Exage LX. So this is a solid crank and it could be used for many things. If you are getting your pedals and your arms in the right place and your chain line and blah dee da dee da, so many things to consider. But we don't know that yet. So the issue here is availability of narrow wide chain rings for me. So that is basically what I'm starting with. Where do I get the best and the best value narrow wide chain rings? And today I can answer that question. Malaysia. Malaysia is where you want to buy them. And then they tend to have a 4 by 90, 104 millimeter BCD. So that's the most common standard. So you get a narrow, brand new narrow wide chain ring, any color you want. It's about $5 or shipping added, so $10, 10 American dollars I'm talking about. So that's basically where it starts for me. So the crankset is dictated by the narrow wide chain ring. Now for the single speed, I'm not going narrow wide, and that has to do with the rear cog, and I will get into that in a minute. I have started using little lids of chocolate boxes for keeping things tidy. And look what the mailman brought. Bought on eBay in Britain, that was the best place for it. Genuine Shimano brake shoes that will go into these amazing looking things. So that'll be my brakes. Pardon me. I think this is the most beautiful brake shoe that I own, these two. I had replaced the pads before, but as you can see, with not much luck, they just mangled this little stop. So what I'll do this time, I will super glue them in and use the cable stop. And then in the future, there will be another story. There is a fantastic video, and I apologize for not remembering the name of this guy at the moment. He sits somewhere in Scotland, in Edinburgh. I think that's where he lives, Edinburgh, and he does trial riding, and he builds, and he makes his own brake pads down to his own specification. What's important for me here is that the way he applies the brake pad to the brake, which is usually a regular shoe, and if that is what I might, sorry, let me call this a shoe, okay? So this is how you bolt to the brake, and then in there, some way or another, is obviously the brake pad. Now, that has a profile and needs to slide in, and is getting held by this little clip, which is not ideal. So therefore, what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue in the original pad. So that. Once these are worn down, they look like this. I will sand them flat, and then I will glue new pad material onto here. Maybe even a whole bought pad that then does not govern me so much in where the pad's coming from and what it is. We shall see. That should be an interesting experiment. Okay? So that was the little excursion for brake pads. Now I will clean up these little bits and bobs so they can get out of the way and be ready for being bolted back on, and helping me correct the chain line just a little touch. So we need 5, yes, we need 5. I polished them before. I have a habit of polishing things. I like shiny things. Have you noticed? I like things shiny. So counting. Have I talked about these? Cable guides. So what I'll do, I have one that is fit for purpose, and then I have an aluminium one that is quite thick. So I will file the hole, and then I will file also the wall. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Here we go. Let's get rid of these shaving problems. And would you believe it? I have just only one chain that works with my rear sprocket, which is that one. And that is what I will use. But first I need to correct the chain line. So in comes my bicycle. Seat post off. It's all in one piece. Isn't that a pleasure when something has something like a handle to hold it? Isn't that nice? Something that stands stable. 92. take you out of the stand and show you something. I think we're going to use the very unsophisticated tool of this measuring stick by my brother-in-law. Hold the cable stand. Thank you. Don't fall down. Close. 15 minutes, okay. So, if I hold this on the outside, you see how totally far off this is. Actually, let me do this differently. Let me hold this. Apologize. I think it's quite simple to see how totally off all of this is. Where is that? Honestly, I don't think this is of much value, what I'm doing here. But I guess if you go by, let's say this was roughly a straight edge, and then I'm touching the tire on both sides, sort of, and you see how far off I am of the chain wheel. So since I cannot perfect this other than changing the front, the crank, I will use these spaces for the time being. Hopefully I get this thing to ride. And then we'll take it from there. Cheap bike build 2.0 will be there. Will be what comes after. So here's something I wanted to show you. I made all the effort. I adjusted everything, and look at this. I have no the foggiest idea what happened. So, and here. God awful. So this is where I'm asking for your help, people. Okay, we're talking about a hub that measures something like a total of 108 millimeters. I will correct that figure later. About 108 millimeters total width in the frame. I mean, I can set the frame a little bit. And then it's a solid axis. I prefer for the single speed, there's nothing better than you can bolt it on tight. I need a fresh set of axes and cones and balls. Where is a good supplier that gets me really what I need? That's where I need your help. Please, please help. So I will now off camera bolt in my little spaces here, offset my chainring by about this much, and then I will see how good this chain is here. How well does it help here? I think that should be all right. Isn't that funny? That it works, but it just wouldn't. So the key really is, so this chain goes with that. And the chain looks the way it does. I have washed this chain in petrol intensively, and I have put it into my famous mixture of heated up candle wax plus 50% oil. So that's my mixture. Use any household oil that's cheap and not too smelly. I use whatever is to hand, honestly. Olive oil is usually what we have in the house, and yes, you might say that's a bit precious, but whatever. You buy an extra piece of oil, and how much oil do you need for a chain? Not much. So I mix 50% wax, 50% oil, heat it up, submerge the chain after it's washed in petrol, wipe it off, and you have a quiet and clean chain for months. Okay? Now I'm going to shut you off and do a little bit of everything.